welcome to From a Particular Point of View. Hi, I'm Dale. This is a podcast where we dig through the garbage and look at American life and times from a perspective of faith.
You could call him a man at the plow, without the plow.
We're on a mission, guy.
Politics.
Why should I trade one tyrant 3,000 miles away for 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away?
An elected legislature can trample a man's rights as easily as a king can.
Entertainment.
Why are you here? There must be a reason for you to be here.
Yes, I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
How dare you? How dare you?
Lighten up, Francis.
And nerd.
I'm a nerd. I'm pretty proud of it.
It will test your head and your mind. Your brain, too.
So sit back, literally or figuratively, and enjoy American life and times from a particular point of view.
106 miles from Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Good.
That's right. Happy birthday, America. 250 something. I don't remember how, but yes, today is the 4th of July, or as I like to call it, Independence Day. After all, you can call anything, if today was June 31st, hey, welcome, happy June 31st. What does that mean? It means nothing. Independence Day is to me, the correct way to put the birth of our country, official birthday, and interestingly enough, we pretty much signed a check that we almost couldn't cash when our founding fathers officially sent this document to the king and said, boom, that's it, we're done. And the king says, oh, no, you're not. And they sent, of course, the full force of this is what's really cool about it, I think, is we're a bunch of pitchforks and farmers with pitchforks and knives and whatnot, and just your average everyday Joe. There were some people who, of course, were trained in the British regular army and also maybe a little bit with us, but, the country. But at that time, England was a world power. And I can't say we kicked their butts, but we did win. So anyway, happy birthday, America. If you are a proud American, happy birthday to you, too, as a, proud American. So, again, today is July 4th. 2025, yes. And one thing I've mentioned on Twitter earlier today, it's kind of funny. I think it's funny. To a Republican, conservative, whatever, one of their favorite days is July 4th, Independence Day. To a Democrat, progressive, whatever, their favorite day is April 15th, or Tax Day. Okay. I thought it was a pretty good joke. I don't know. Anyway, my friends, welcome to From a Particular Point of View. I am Dale. For questions, comments, concerns, whatever, watercoolercomments at gmail.com or watercoolercomments at hotmail.com. I'd like to thank Justin for sending a letter in, email, in regards to some of the things I've said. Nothing negative, of course, but he's got some good points, and I will respond to him as soon as I can. But let's see. Let's begin with, because I was busy I haven't done a podcast in a couple of weeks, and there's a good reason for that, because as a part of my honeymoon, again, I was married April 26th, and as a part of that, we decided to go on a cruise to Cozumel, Belize, pretty much the Western Caribbean. We went on our cruise, and it was aboard the Princess Cruise Line ship, Enchanted Princess, and it was my very first cruise. It was very interesting, fascinating. Not only was it was hot, I don't really care for heat, but it was quite interesting. We bought some trinkets. It was unusual for me to see people along the street you were walking. And this is the interesting thing I think is fascinating. In America, on the street corner, we see people holding up a sign, anything else, please, asking for money, begging for money. In places like that, to where they're not a third world country, but they're not definitely not any ways compared to the United States. People weren't begging for money. They were selling things, providing actually a tangible item, something you could hold in your hand, an item, selling product. And I was like, wow. So that's, if more people in America would do that, would sell things. And actually, there's been a few people who they've done that on the street corner. They'll either play music or they'll sell things. And that's when I will go to them and I'll say, hey, I like what your product is, whether it's music, singing, items, whatever it is, and I'll give them money in replacement for their product. And there, granted, they lined the streets. In some cases they did. In some cases you had to pretty much just, get blinders and look right through, because you're going somewhere. And if you're going with a group, you just can't go off like squirrel and talk to somebody or look to buy things. You have to somewhere you have to go, something you have to do. And so you just can't, you have to say no and just keep on going. Of course, we did buy trinkets and whatnot later on, but still. So that was interesting. We visited the Mayan ruins, and but that was in Cozumel, and quite interesting. Our tour guide, I don't remember his name. I think his name was George or something. I don't know, Jorge, whatever. But what I didn't know is that Belize, I'm not sure about the town or it was the state. It was a state that was its own state, apart from Mexico. And then I guess the Mexican government in 1974, I think is what it was, just said, oh, by the way, you're Mexican now. Boom. No concern. There's no argument, no debate, no nothing. You now belong to us. And they just took it over. And my thought when I heard that, it's like, hey, that's like what Mexicans are trying to do in California. They inundate their society to Southern California, and then they go, well, hey, we're in Mexico now. You don't like it? Tough. So Mexico has done this before. Fascinating. Anyway, there was two places we went to. We had to get a boat to go in from the ship because the reef was because of the reef, we had to actually take a smaller boat to go in to see these places. Anyway, again, we went on the Princess cruise ship, Enchanted Princess, beautiful ship with everything on it. It didn't have a water slide. It had a basketball court on top. It had two or three pools, several little hot tubs, a big screen TV, many restaurants, buffet. It was awesome. The only thing that kind of weird to me was what I noticed about the ship, and this is really odd. I don't know if they did this for an exotic reason, or they just asked people they found because they could pay them cheaper. I don't know, but throughout the entire ship, I didn't see one single person on that ship who worked there who was actually a white person who spoke clear English. Everyone who worked on that ship was not from America, and they spoke with some kind of accent, either everything from faint, but you could tell they were not actual, from America, to extremely heavy to where you could understand squat what they were saying. And the thing that bugged me was that there was two MCs on board this ship who, again, MC'd different events, cute little events aboard the ship, either musical things or trivia or whatever. And the two young men on here, they were both gay. And the reason I know they were both gay was one of them came out and said that his husband is actually a doctor aboard the ship. And besides that, gay men have this way of acting when, I don't know if it's natural, if they want you to know that they're gay. But, and what gets me, it's the stereotypical gay. The voice fluctuation, how they move kind of feminine, and both men did this. And I thought it was a stereotype. I know somebody in my youth, and he was gay, which I didn't care. I don't care. If you're gay, enjoy yourself. Just close the door and do whatever. But however, when he wanted to have fun or just goof off, he would go from your typical guy who just happens to be gay to the gay thing. the flair, the yay, jazz hands, whatever. And these guys seem to do it not heavy, but all the time. And that was just really, to me, it's like nails down chalkboard. If you're gay, so what? I just don't want to see you act like it. Anyway. Other than that, it was a wonderful trip. Took 2 flights to get there. Again, I live in the Pacific Northwest, so from Portland to Chicago to Fort Lauderdale going down, and then come back up from Fort Lauderdale to Baltimore to back to Portland. I'd never been in Baltimore, never been to Chicago. I didn't get out of the airport, but still, you got to see people, and we actually did eat some of the local food there. In Chicago, there was some pizza place that had a spot in Chicago. There was, this is Chicago pizza. Okay, cool. Anyway, so, so it was actually nice, and we had gotten a stateroom with a balcony. It was up several, it was up, 5, 6, 8, whatever decks. And that was probably the most relaxing thing, is we found out that when you're on the water, there's enough of a breeze and you're away from land to where it doesn't feel hot. And you go out there and you're sitting in the chairs in the balcony, and it's just so relaxing. I mean, you sit back there, and there's been a few times where you sit back there, you just kick back in the little lawn chair that's in this tiny little balcony, and it just seems like within moments you're so relaxed that you start to doze off. It's like, wow, this is nice. It was. Anyway, so other than me doing my first cruise and enjoying myself for the most part, I get back here and they're doing the big beautiful bill thing, which again, I am a proponent of Trump, and usually everything he does I agree with. I didn't get a chance to look over the big beautiful bill. As I understand it, people have been screaming because it's going to cut Medicare, cut Medicaid, cut food stamps. People will die. And I've heard that several times over the last few days. People will die. Children will die. It's like, really? It's not that. It's this way. There are people in this country illegally who do use Medicare. I mean, put it this way, if Democrats didn't scream about it, there would be a thing. They have to scream about everything. If they don't like something, they scream about it. And to go to the extreme of people will die if you cut this. Really? Who? Probably somebody who doesn't deserve it. Like, let's say you're an illegal alien who shouldn't be here at all to begin with. Will you die? Of course not. Will you be able to get health insurance? No, because you shouldn't get it anyway. I actually heard somebody say, well, did you know that, this was on Twitter a day or two ago, somebody was saying, well, you know that illegal aliens pay more taxes than all and he named off 8 or 10 corporations, American corporations, that allegedly paid 0 taxes. But he said that illegal immigrants, and that's what he called them, paid like $93 billion in taxes. And my first thought was, okay, I know that when you go to a job, when you get hired on, they give you, I think, an I-9, and you have to put on there, you have to prove that you're a citizen. And I-9s work toward taxes. So to my understanding, now you can have a green card, that's a different story, but if you're an illegal alien, if you're here illegally and have no documentation to prove that you're supposed to be here, then to get this I-9 or some documentation to pay taxes, you have to either lie, which is a federal crime, or you have to steal someone else's identity, which is, again, a federal crime. So either way you look at it, if you're here legally, you have to keep on breaking laws and breaking laws and breaking laws to keep on living here. So, but I guess according to Democrats or progressives, that just being here itself isn't a crime. And stealing identity and forging federal documents also, I guess, isn't a crime. But I guess as long as the illegal aliens vote, and they do, in Oregon they do, unfortunately. I know in Oregon they passed a law, and it was one of those laws that the citizens of Oregon said no like 2 or 3 times, but the Congress of Oregon pretty much gave them the big middle finger and said, no, they're getting it whether you like it or not. Tough. Live with it, deal with it, whatever. And oddly enough, they actually made it so that, well, first they said that they do the motor voter law. So pretty much when you get an ID, you're automatically registered to vote. And then they said that, then they made it so that anybody at all, whether despite your citizenship, or not, you can still get a license, which means anybody in Oregon, whether they're a citizen or not, can get a license and vote, which is illegal. So anyway, so I was listening to some of this, and I keep on hearing about I keep hearing some of the progressives on Twitter, X, whatever, and they're saying, well, now it's time to leave. Now it's time to leave. My thought was, well, go. But most countries that I'm aware of, other than the United States, don't accept you into their country if you're fleeing an oppressive president or whatever. They don't play that. As I understand it, it's a lot easier to just waltz into America as an illegal alien than it is to just waltz into Canada or Mexico as an illegal alien. I mean, for some reason they don't like that too much. They don't let you do that in America. Well, under Democrat power, they open arms. Anyway, so yeah, they're screaming over Medicare, Medicaid, and food stamps. I guess I have also heard that the reason why they're screaming about that, because I guess there are people, I'm guessing it's probably adult children of some of these progressives who live in their basement. They don't have a job. They live in their basement, and they live off mommy and daddy, and they get food stamps or whatever, and they just stay in their basement and play video games or movies or something. I don't know. However, to any... let's see, where's this at again? Oh, yes. To any Bible-believing person of faith out there, it actually says in the Bible, if you don't work, you don't eat. 2 Thessalonians 3:10, if you don't work, you don't eat. I mean, so pretty much cutting off, making it a law to cut off Medicaid, Medicare, and food stamps from people who aren't working. It may be a little bit cruel, but this is a cruel life. Life can suck. No matter if you're a Christian or not, life isn't always, I mean, even Jesus said in there that, the world will hate you because they hate me. They hated me first. And I know the world hates me. Well, most of them do, and they show it. I mean, they definitely show it. When they had that, a couple weeks ago, they had that No King's Day, and I drove through the downtown portion of the small town I live in, and I had people yelling expletives, flipping me off, screaming at me, putting signs in my face. They're just ugly, ugly signs. It's like, wow, okay. And the only thing I did in response was there's this one lady held up some kind of sign that I didn't agree with, and I gave her the thumbs down. The thumbs down, nothing negative at all. And as I recall saying this in a prior podcast, is that she started giving me the blowing me kisses. Now I know it was sarcastic, I know it was, and that's okay. But at least she didn't flip me off back, which is. I mean, it can be sarcastic, I don't care, but I really appreciate how she responded to my thumbs down in a kind of positive, negative light. Anyway, you get the idea. But apparently, the bill not only, I don't know the details, I never read it. Again, I don't have the time and I don't know if it's actually in spoken word what the bill is, and as the name, it's big, and of course Trump calls it beautiful, but that's just his wording, and so I've understood as I guess I've heard whatever that it condenses or controls Medicare, Medicaid, and food stamps. I've also heard it opens up ANWIRE and some more drilling and opens up logging, which to me is just wonderful. I mean, because I'm from Alaska, and opening up ANWIRE or any other country drilling up there, as it is said, as Sarah Palin said, drill baby drill, I'm all for it. And the same thing with me now living in Oregon. And Oregon at one time, logging was king. I mean, whole towns, whole towns relied upon the logging dollar to survive. Complete families got employed by mills, trucking companies. You get the idea. And for the progressives to just say, save a tree, and just quit. They pretty much killed an entire industry. If you go through now to look at the parts of Oregon that used to rely on logging. They're ghost towns. You might have one or two people ish in the area, but for the most part, they're ghost towns. It's a death of a town. And leave it to a progressive finger quotes here, who is supposed to be into progress. Which anyway. So I haven't read the whole thing. I don't know the details about it. I know that it's supposed to stop taxes on Social Security and on overtime and on tips, but I also heard that only extends to 2028, I think. So pretty much, they're thinking that by the end of his presidency is when that stops. Which, if a Democrat comes into line, it becomes president next, that's going to happen anyway. That everything Trump did is going to end. So, and nobody really knows if Vance is going to be the next in step to be president or not. Nobody really knows, or somebody else is a Republican, either a definite conservative Republican or somebody who's rhino, whatever. So, anyway, as I understand, also is Hakeem Jeffries, whatever his name is, went up there and for 8 hours and 44 minutes ranted about stuff. I guess you could call it his I hate MAGA, I hate Trump, I hate Republicans, I hate conservatives rant. I mean, I heard small pieces of it because I guess I could have heard the whole thing, but I have better things to do with 8 hours of my time than listen to a moron, listening to a fool yell out about things he doesn't like. And he had all of his cohorts, all of his fellow progressive Democrats out there clapping and cheering him on, and yeah, go, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh boy. So then, as I understand it, then after 8 hours and 44 minutes of ranting, complaining, and belly aching, then Mike Johnson gets up there and does a 5-minute speech, and then they vote. And apparently, it was the vote was positive by 2 votes. As I also heard on the radio that I was listening to, the podcast / radio, not podcast, was a streaming station I was listening to, is that there was one Republican who was on the fence. He says, well, I still don't know. After hearing Hakeem Jeffries for 8 hours complain about Trump, MAGA, and conservatives, he says, yeah, that's it. I'm voting for Trump. I mean, not Trump, but I'm voting for the bill. I'm voting for it. And it just seems to me, because I thought they were worried about it not passing. I thought they were kind of worried about maybe bringing in J.D. Vance again to break the voting tie. Kind of find out they didn't need it. And I kind of wonder how much of Hakeem Jeffries' ranting actually hurt them in this thing. So, another thing I'm getting a kick out of is Alligator Alcatraz, or Alligator Alley, or whatever. Now, when I flew from Chicago to Fort Lauderdale, I did go over some Everglades. Because they flew pretty much from Chicago straight down south and then curved slightly to the east to go to Fort Lauderdale. So yes, I was over the water for the Gulf of America for a short time, and then over some Everglades. And I didn't see Alligator Alley, but I don't know exactly where it's at. However, that, and I think I saw a video on Twitter X, whatever, of people actually putting up a sign that says Alligator Alcatraz, which I thought was interesting, because it's like, is that the official name of it? I think it's a great idea. I mean, because if you're arresting all these illegal aliens who don't want to leave, what are you going to do with them? You just can't put them in a jail cell somewhere. You have to put them someplace. You got to put them someplace, because a lot of these people are dangerous criminals, rapists, murderers, you get the idea. Just terrible, terrible people, and they want to escape. And if you put them there, the chances of them escaping are pretty slim, considering I'm sure there's armed guards there. But if you do get past the armed guards, I understand that there's mosquitoes with maybe malaria in it. There's snakes, there's crocodiles. And I think I saw a picture of it, and the whole picture is surrounded by a moat. And the moat is, 100 or so foot wide, I think, that surrounds the entire thing. I don't know if there's a bridge that goes across this moat, but yeah. But I saw, I think it was like 4 or 5 buildings. Now again, looking at the angle I did, I don't know. I really couldn't tell how big the buildings were, so I can't tell if they're just tents or if they're like huge warehouses. I really couldn't tell. That it was quite interesting. It's so, oh man, yeah, it's crazy. But people are just freaking out over this. There's how inhumane, how terrible, how that's not who we are as Americans. And I'm thinking to myself, we are a nation of laws, and if you do something to break the law, which is coming here illegally, stealing tax money from people, as you were given, things. And actually, I think I got a letter written to me about can you provide a source that tells you, where, how you get things. I've seen video of it. I've seen video of women who either they speak through a translator or they speak very broken English, and they were saying, yeah, I got all this for free. Car, house, food, I mean, everything. And she even says cash. I mean, she was reckoning, just making a list of everything she got from the American public, from the American taxpayer. And she seemed very happy with it. And she's like, yeah, I could do this forever. I'm getting paid. I'm getting paid to live off of the American dime. And of course, I've never seen documents to show this, but I've heard. And the crazy thing is, I've seen the same thing with white people too, with Americans too. I used to know of somebody years ago who, she had something with her hand. It wasn't. I don't know if it was deformed when she was born or whether she was an accident. But I mean, she could because she was always on the computer too and typing stuff. This is back in the 90s, and so she could still, be on chat rooms and stuff like that, use her computer. However, she was on welfare, and she had a young daughter, and she told me that everything was paid for by the government. Her apartment, her car, which was nicer than mine, her computer, which back in those days in the 90s, the computer was everything in the screen. It was all touchscreen. It's like, I can't tell you how much this can cost, because back then it must have cost a fortune. But I mean, free food, free cash, free everything, all paid for by, and at that time, I don't know how much it was by the American taxpayer and how much by the Oregon taxpayer, but she told me, yeah, I get it all for free, every single bit of it. Apartment, brand new car, fancy computer, the best appliances, all the best everything, and paid for by the government. It's like, wow. So it's just not illegal aliens who do this. It's people who should work but don't. Or, I know there's people out there who can't work, but to me, thinking in this day of technology and digital age, if you can't work, you got some problems. And that's a different story, perhaps, but it's just... So that's one thing I liked about Doge. And yes, Elon Musk, as I understand it, is still at odds with Donald Trump. I think one of the biggest things I heard is I think there's something in that bill that says they're going to end the mandate to buy electric vehicles. And I can kind of see Musk being a little bit upset about that, but he's got other things to deal with than that. So, and maybe he wants to get back some of his original base. Because if you remember correctly, his original base, because he was a Democrat or whatever, and I don't know if he hated Trump, but they didn't get along at first, of course, and since he was making electric vehicles, progressive loved him, and that was the most of his base was that. Well, then he got all buddy with Trump, and now conservatives started buying his vehicles. I actually know a friend of mine who's a Republican, and she bought a Tesla. Why? I don't know, but it's her choice. That's okay. And, she's kind of upset that, and people kind of upset that about everything with the vehicles. But to me, it's, it's, again, as I said before, who cares? I mean, maybe it's just a ploy to get people to, using, because get angry with. Maybe they're trying to get Elon and Trump upset together, have fights, so that he becomes more popular with progressives. I don't know. I really don't. Anyway, my friends. So with that, let's see here. Let's begin this again. There we go. So again, this is Dale. This has been From a Particular Point of View. Again, to get a hold of me, concerns, questions, comments, whatever, watercoolercomments@hotmail.com or watercoolercomments@gmail.com, and I will respond. Just don't make them too long, because I do have time. I do have a life, doing other things, and actually, as a matter of fact, need to clean up some of the backyard or whatever. It's amazing how quickly the weeds grow and the grass grows after being gone for a week and a half on a ship. It's crazy. Anyway, yeah. I was also thinking about some other topics for my podcast while I was gone. I came up with some good ones. A retread or two that I haven't brought up in a long time, but nonetheless, again, this is the greatest country in the world. Probably the greatest country in the history of the world, is, and it's just amazing how, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our freedom of speech, freedom to bear arms. Remember, freedom of speech is a two-way sword. You can use it to hurt people, and you can use it, and you can get hurt with it also. It's, that's just how it is. And we have to really respect what we have here as Americans and as a country that is the world power that it is, and the ability to, we are blessed with many things. I believe I even heard, there's an Indian conservative guy, and right now I can't remember his name. I'm terrible with that. And one of his friends even asked him, it's like, well, why do you want to move to America? And his friend told him that, I want to move to a country where even the poor people are fat. And that tells you how blessed Americans really are, where even poor people are fat. Well, unfortunately, that's because government pays them too much in money and food stamps, and they're not working, but you get the idea. Anyway, my friends, I am Dale. Once again, this is From a Particular Point of View. So until next time, but again, before I end this, we didn't do any quotes today, but that's okay. So to close this out, give the blessing. Again, I'm not a perfect Christian, to those who may be wondering. I make mistakes. I do call people names, which isn't nice. I'm not Jesus, not even close. I'm not God. I am not apostle. I am a Christian. I make mistakes. I say things maybe I shouldn't say, but I get passionate about what I'm thinking, and I want to get my point across. So I do my best not to cuss, which I don't think I ever have on this one, but I have said some things that maybe not be very nice, but again, I'm not that nice of a guy. Even though I'm a Christian, I'm still not that nice of a guy, and I have been forgiven for that. And I thank the Lord for his forgiveness and his blessings. Anyway, the blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. So until next time, my friends, have a great day, great week, and God bless. And until next time, see ya. Bye-bye.